This is another video on using sheet metal, and today I'm going to make a box with two tubes coming through the top, which could be used for, say, drain water or rainwater runaway or catchment or whatever. And it looks something very similar to this if I just bring this across. So it's just a picture I found on the web. I'm going to make something very similar to this, just a little box bent out of sheet metal, and then these spigots coming off. Now these could be made out of sheet metal and rolled and then welded up, or they could be just tubes. In this case I'm going to use tubes, but I've shown how to make cylindrical sheet metal tubes in a previous video, but if you want one specific, contact me and I'll do one for you. Okay, so how do we do that? Well, we take our sheet metal stock, drop it down, choose the stock size that we want to work with. I'll choose this one, and I'm going to grow this out. I'm going to make that, say, 500 by 250, and there's a flat piece there. So now what we need to do is put a bend on it. We have various types of bends. We have an in bend and an out bend. But the in bend is if you want to put something into like a box or something like that, like a cap over the top. The in bend is the driving dimension, so the outside of the bend will be what you specify. So if you said 100 mil, the outside of that bend will be 100 mil. And if you're putting it over the top, then the out bend is important. So, and that's what we shall do. So we shall play around with these. So let's just drop an in bend in, put it on that corner. And I can just drag and drop, similar to all the features within HiCAD with the IntelliFeature. I can change the angles, the sizes and everything I want to do that. Radius size of the bend. I can move it partially in, out. You know, you have loads and loads of options. I can double click on that, and then I have the choice of depending how I want to measure the size. So if I pick this one, I want that one to be 100. Done. Now, I've obviously got all of that there. What I want to do is do the sides. So how we do that? Well, we haven't got to create every individual side as we go along. What we do is we've got a feature in the sheet metal tab called Add Miter. Asks you to put the bend shape on, which I specify. It highlights the bend in blue. And then it says what are the straight edges. Now I could go and pick that edge, and it will only do, it will add those sides on those parts. But if I want to go all the way around, I just pick the surface, and it will calculate the three edges and say okay, fine, and there's our edge. Obviously it's not a box completely because it's not closed. Let's drop it the top in. So just put a top on by putting in another bend of sheet metal. I'm going to right mouse click and say I want to snap to point. I want to pick that edge there. And there you can see I've very, very quickly made that box. Okay, what do I want to do with that box? Well, I want to change it. Okay, how can I change it? I want to put some holes in there. So if I right click on this, I can unfold that. You can see that. Oops. Let me just pick the edge there. Sorry. You can see that. There's all the bends, the shapes, everything to make up the box, and the bend lines, etc. So let me refold it again. Okay, so now let me add these two tubes on the top. So the first thing I do is I go straight to the starter on my catalogue. I'm going to bring in and drop in a cylinder and drop it as a new part because I don't want it to be joined to that part. I can click on the Intelli shape. I can then pick on the sizes, which is 100, and the height is let's call that 75. Okay, I'm just going to drag and drop the bottom down through there because I want it to go through the hole. No problem at all. So there's my cylinder. It's obviously in the wrong position. I want it halfway between the centre and that edge there, and one there at the other side. So how do I do that? Put on the tribal, I pick the edge, the axes I want it to fix it on. I know it's in the centre, so I'll do that. And then I've got some options here. I can say to point, so I'll take the centre point of that face and the centre point of that face, and it puts it there. And if I right mouse click, I can actually do, I can actually move this if I want to by just dragging that across. I'm going to link it here because I want them both to be the same. Say OK, and I'm going to fix this one on, and I'm going to say do the same thing again, point to point between that point there and that point there. Done. So turn off the tribal. So that's still not going to give me the holes. That's just 2 cylinders, because if I unfold it, you can see that those holes are not gone through because I've not done anything to that sheet metal. So what I can do is I can go to our features and click on the trim. You don't have to sit down and work out on the developed shape, you know, all the sketches and the dimensions to the edges and everything, because it all becomes quite messy. You're just working in a free-form environment, which is where you want to work. So I choose the part that I want to trim. I then choose the trimming parts, which is going to be that cylinder, and that cylinder only works it out that those is what I want to keep. Say OK. Now if I was to unfold that, you can then see I have my holes already there, which is fantastic. These tubes are not correct, but what I can do is I turn that one on. I can then turn around and say go to that top there, and I know that I want that there to be distance from point, so let me add a distance from that point, and I want that to be 75. There we go. So, okay, so that's 100, and actually I want to bring that one up. I didn't actually select that. There we go, that's better. So, there I have the cylinders. The one in magenta, he's saying it's a link of that, so what I do to this one will change that one. So if I right click on here and say shell, I'm going to go 2 mil. I'm going to then choose that. I'm going to choose that face there, I think. Yeah, it's going to be that one. I'm going to say done, and there we have, I've cut the 2 holes all the way through. So basically if I hide this one, you can see that they're holes. If I show everything there, and there you can see if I hide these 2, you can see that I've cut those holes out. So if I then show everything back, there. So that's one way, and it's quite a quick way, and it's a lot easier, but I just wanted to, for your education and to show you there's more than one way to do something like this. Let's make let's go to the sheet metal tab and say let's create a solid and make a sheet metal from that solid. So what do? I just bring in a block, drop it down as a new part, and if I zoom in, because it's quite small, I right click on there. I can then edit the size box. I know that I want that to be 500, that's convenient, by 250 by 100, and there's my block. Okay, what I want to do now is make that a sheet metal part. So if I click on that part there, and I'm going to say I want, that is my flat surface, that's what I'm going to develop everything from. Then it asks for my bend edges, so I'll say I want to bend on that edge. I want to bend on that edge. Well, it's going to then turn around and say, well, wait a minute, I can't bend that out and that out. I need to put a rip line in, and that's what the yellow is. So it will calculate that for you and put you, and it's the same again. So I can just say, okay, that's fine. Let's change the stock size to, go to standard stock, choose the one, because let's get the same one, because then we know what we're doing. Hot rolled steel, that one I think it was, that one. Okay, so okay, say finish, and there you can see I've got the majority of the box made. I just need to go back to the sheet metal and add the end on again, which is very simple. We just put an out bend, put it on there, snap to point, just pick that edge, and there I've made my box. So that's one way, and there's another way of creating that box. You need the holes to be put in there, so what I'll do is I'll take these two and I'll just copy them and put them over there. So the first thing I can do is drag them out. I'm going to link them, say OK, and this time I'm going to snap to point, middle of the edge. I'll pick that edge and I'll say I want to move it along. And you remember I use the command point to point, so I just say I want from there to there, and they're both in the same position. Turn off the tribal, and there I have my my box. I just need to put the holes in. So there's two different ways of doing that, but what I'll do is I'll show you another way. Is if I take a cylinder, cut cylinder, and drop it on there, and I make that 100 diameter, put on the tribal. I want to fix the axes. I want to say I want the plane, I want it to stay in that plane. I want to go to the center point of that, and I want to go in that direction, and I want to do the center point of that. Turn off the tribal, and then I can then pick on this and say unfold, and there you have our holes already done for us. So that was just two ways of creating the same box using two different methods. I hope you found this useful. If there's any questions or you want to see any further videos, then contact me directly. And thank you very much.